Hey everybody, it's Heidi Hope and it's FAQ Friday. It's our last FAQ Friday of the year and I hope my speaker is working okay. It looks like I've got my little bars. Hopefully you guys can hear me out there. But yes, it is our last FAQ Friday of 2014, which is crazy. We started doing these live online hangouts at the beginning of 2014. And when we start them back up again, it is going to be pretty much our 1-year anniversary of even starting this up. So I feel pretty proud that we've made it through a whole year together because I typically start stuff like this and never finish it. So it feels like an accomplishment to have gotten this far with all of you. Thank you to everybody who has been watching since the very beginning. I love having all your questions each week. In fact, I was making all the material in the past couple of weeks. I've been working really hard on the Photographer Rising online workshop, which is airing in January. And I was just saying to Caroline today that I do so much better working with people's questions because I feel like you all think of so many things that I don't even think of. And so it's been really fun getting to know all of you and your businesses and kind of being able to reach out and connect with all of you on an almost weekly basis. So thank you for being part of my life in 2014. We are closing our studio for the holiday. We are coming in 2 days next week, and then we are closing all the way till January 5th. And that week that we open is actually the Photographer Rising workshop. Then we have in-person workshops the following week, and we also have those in February and March. For the in-person workshops, I think we have a couple seats in February, and that is it. Everything else is sold out. So to learn with us in 2015, which I really hope you do, those are the last chances there. So looking forward to the new year and all the teaching ahead of us. We will start FAQ Friday back up in February of 2015 once we get through the January teaching craziness. One more thing in January too. January 30th, we are heading out to Imaging USA in Nashville. It is those first few days of February. And you may have seen on YouTube my videos painting a photography backdrop. Those backdrops I'm donating to PPA charities, and they're going to be in their auction on that Saturday night, January 31st rather. So those will be up for auction. If you want to have an original signed hand-painted canvas by me, you can check those out. Hopefully they'll raise some good money for a great cause. And hopefully Sean and I will be there, so hopefully we'll get a chance to meet all of you. All right, so our first question this week was, is baby Smith born yet? You all probably know that Mariah has been expecting all year this year. It's crazy. And she was due yesterday, and there is still no baby Smith is still hanging out in there, nice and comfy. But we promise to share the news with you guys as soon as we hear it. We're all in suspense, and there may or may not have been an office pool guessing when the baby was going to be born. So I'm pretty sure she's going to decide to come on December 21st. That's just what I think. Her and I had a few little combos, and that's when she picked. So we'll see how that pans out for everybody. But I should be in the money on on December 21st. Poor Mariah. January 21st would not be good. Okay, let's start with our first questions. Let me pull them up here. We have from Carrie, thank you for answering my last question about the birch wood you use in your props. I was picturing you traipsing through the woods in a turquoise plaid flannel shirt and boots like a lumberjack. I probably did do that. This week, I was wondering if you use lens filters, and do you have a metering mode you prefer, or do you constantly change it? Thanks. Okay, first of all, lens filters. So I always say, do as I say, not as I do, because I remember when I was a high school photography teacher, the kids had to learn like all the technical stuff and take a test before they get to use the SLR. They weren't digital, it was regular SLRs. And one of the things was like camera care and safety. And it was like, always have a UV filter on your lens, don't leave your lens uncovered, never blow on your camera, never, blow in the back of the camera. And I do all of those things, and I lose my lenses constantly, and I can't help it. I'm not an organized person. I'm not. So I started with UV filters. We used to have UV filters on all our lenses, but they just get like sucked into a black hole. I know we like tried it without them. We're like, oh, we feel like maybe the image is a little sharper without the UV filter on. And so we just kind of lose all of that stuff. So yeah, no filters, no lens caps. Sorry. But that's not my advice to others. I like the UV filter just for protection of the lens. If you get a nice high quality one, usually you can't see it. I experimented a lot with filters back in the day when I was learning photography, and I think it's a fun way to learn and be creative if you want to try like a neutral density filter. Those are a great one to play around with. But for the most part, oh yeah, we don't use any. So hope that helps. Oh, and metering. So I did a huge episode on metering back in the beginning of the year. And I'm not sure what month it was, but we can check it out. If you go on my YouTube channel, there's no good way to find me on YouTube because I had a YouTube account that I set up like 4 years ago. In fact, I think there's still an old video on it and I can't log back into it. So if you go to youtube.com/Heidi Hope Photography, that's my old account that I'm locked out of. But there is a new YouTube channel. I just can't name it a nice, like fun name or fun URL. So you just have to search for Heidi Hope Photography on YouTube and you'll find all these FAQs. And then you can go back and see every episode we've done over the year. And one episode I devoted a whole huge portion of the segment to the light meter. What kind of light meter use in different situations and when I don't use the light meter, which is most of the time. I will tell you that I usually switch between manual exposure and aperture priority. When I'm using aperture priority, I use evaluative metering. So I'm kind of taking in the whole scene, but then I use exposure compensation. So I'm never really trusting I don't look at my light meter that much. I am like an eyeball person. So I'm looking at that. Now, if it was a tricky situation where I wanted to make sure the skin tones weren't blown or something like that, I use my light meter to check things. But for the most part, I'm really either choosing my manual exposure based on what I'm seeing or I'm using aperture priority. And I don't know, it's like 50-50 that it really depends on the situation for both. So, okay, great question. And definitely go find that old episode because I talk about it a lot in that. Okay. Let's see. From Deb, we have, do you offer Photoshop editing via Skype? No, I don't. I do offer it. I feel like this was from this question maybe got mixed in from last week. But anyways, I don't, but we do. I teach Photoshop editing in the Photographer Rising online workshop. We have a whole day of editing in that. So let's see. We get another question here. Claudia asks, hi, Heidi. My pictures look flat in editing. How do I get that pop in Photoshop to help me get the extra professional look? I use a Mark III with a 50mm lens. I used one time Imagenomic for skin softening, but still miss that professional look. What can I do? Okay. This is kind of a hard question to answer because there's a lot of things that contribute to your images looking flat. I find that most of the time when I look at photographers' work where they are feeling like things are looking flat or less than professional, a lot of times it is the lighting. So flat lighting is going to make your subject look flat. Flat lighting is like lighting that's too soft and even or too direct in the face of your subject. When you don't have directional light coming from like a window to the side. So I have directional light on my face right now because you can see the shadow on this side of the face. If I turn and look at the light completely, which you guys can't see on the front, it's going to be more flat lighting. Sometimes that's desirable and sometimes it's not. If you're out in the middle of a shady field, there's no directional light coming in anywhere. That's kind of flat lighting. We tend to actually use soft and almost flat lighting at our studio because that's that soft look that we're always looking for. So in that case, there's other things that lend themselves to the image still appearing to be sharp. And that's more in the post-processing, like running sharpening filters. It's also tweaking contrast and exposure. I shoot everything in Camera Raw. I do all my editing in Camera Raw. It's really small touch-ups that are done in Photoshop at this point. That's not how I used to do it, but that's kind of how I do it now. And that's what I suggest, either use Camera Raw or Lightroom to do the majority of your post-processing. Another thing that can cause images to look flat when you're in Photoshop is doing too much to them. If you start running a ton of actions on them, it just dulls the image. And that's why I do a lot of my editing in Adobe Camera Raw. And if you have Lightroom, you could use Lightroom. When you do the majority of your edits in there, it keeps it clean and crisp and professional looking. And then you can do minor touch-ups in Photoshop. But the more you can do in Raw or in Lightroom, the cleaner your image is going to appear. And I think that does help overall. I do see stuff that has so many actions on it that it flattens the whole image out. And that was kind of a trendy style 3 or 4 years ago. It's not so much the trend anymore. I think people are looking for crisper, sharper images. And it seems like you have good equipment, so that's not the problem. It's more your lighting and your post-processing, and I'm sure nailing your focus and all that. Those are all things that can help. Great question. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Okay, Kim asks, hi Heidi, I was wondering, since you have multiple photographers working in your studio, is each photographer I can't read today. Okay, ready? Let's start over. You ready, Kim? Here we go. I'm gonna get it right this time. Heidi, I was wondering, since you have hold on, our phone's ringing. Okay, never mind. Okay, Kim, let me try again. Ready? Third time's the charm. Go. Hi, Heidi. I was wondering, since you have multiple photographers working in your studio, is each photographer responsible for editing their sessions, or do you have one person editing everyone's photos? Thanks for taking the time to answer these questions. Have a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Kim. That's a great question, and the answer has varied over time. So a few years ago, we did have somebody who is just a dedicated editor. But no, right now, every photographer shoots and edits their own work. And then our staff, even Laura, who's working at our front desk, she's our administrative assistant. She knows how to skin retouch if we need her to. So when things get really busy and crazy, everyone pitches in. But for the most part, each photographer is responsible for planning, shooting, and editing their own work. Those are the main roles of the photographers at our studio. Thank you for asking. That was a good question. Okay. Molly asks, hey, Heidi, hope you guys see, I don't know if you were saying Heidi Hope. I can't read today. I'm just so tired. Okay, Molly asks, hey, Heidi, hope you guys have the most amazing holidays this year. I have a question about digital images. Do you sell them? Are they in a package or individual? And last question, do you sell 4x6 prints? Thanks and happy holidays. Molly, yes, we sell every size print. We do sell digitals. We sell them a la carte and as part of packages, so clients have a choice. It's definitely more people, when they're purchasing their images, opt for our collections, because our collections really give you more for the money. And our packages contain 10 digitals or all the digitals, or just different amounts and different product. And it's all the most popular product that our studio sells paired up together in our collections. With all of our digitals, we give 5x7 corresponding prints, because I think even when you do sell the digitals, it is so important to provide people with something tangible. And this is why, because I'm just like all of you. I love digital images. I love to share them online. I love to show them off on Facebook, but I'm a busy person. And when I hire a professional, I am hiring a service. I am hiring them to do it for me. I am too busy to plan out my own wall displays. And I'm in the business of it. When it's time for me to plan my wall display, I have Caroline help me, because it's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff. And so that is something that our studio provides to our clients as a service to make their lives easier. We know that they're busy parents with young children in professions, careers. So when they come to us, we really want to do the whole service from end to end. So we sell the digitals because we know that people want the digitals, but we make sure to give them something tangible with it, because at the end of the day, and in 5 years and in 10 years, I truly believe that they are going to value those tangible goods so much more than they value the files, because the files sit on a disk and everybody procrastinates, and we're all like, I'm going to print those out someday. Someday I'll order pictures of that. Someday I'll put them on the wall. Someday I'll make albums for the grandparents. But it never happens. And so we want people to get the most out of their experience with us. So I feel like it is a disservice to let them leave without that. The only time we do digitals without tangible product is for mini sessions. And mini sessions are just short little sessions, and they're much less expensive than our typical session. It's much less of the time and financial investment. And so we're okay with parting with the digitals at a lower price point and without tangible goods with that. And we really trust most of our mini sessions are for a purpose. We know that people are going to be ordering their holiday cards with them. They're going to be gifting them to their families. That's the whole purpose of the shoot for that. So we know that that's going to happen. But all of our full sessions, it is so important to us that they have something tangible from the session. So we have corresponding prints, we have keepsake boxes, we pair things up with our wall art, which is hugely popular, organic bloom frames. Almost everybody leaves our studio with an organic bloom frame. Because they're really beautiful fine art heirloom pieces that customers see value in and I see value in. We pick the things to put in our collections that I love in my home, that I appreciate every day. And we want our clients to have those things too. So awesome question. Okay, I think we have time for one more. We're gonna do one more today. Then we gotta wrap it up. Okay, Jen asks, if you could only ask 3 questions in a pre-session consultation, what would they be? I know, it's not a fair question. Also wondering what your advice would be for families of more than 6. Ooh, this is a good question, Jen. Okay, what would my top 3 questions be in a pre-session? My number 1 question in a pre-session would be, what do you want to do with these images? I think this is the most important question you can ask. In fact, I would be okay just asking this one question and going into a shoot. I kid you not. What do you want to do with these images? Because nobody thinks of that ahead of time. And my job, my profession is I want them to do so. I want them to enjoy these images forever. I want them to do something with them. I want them to hang them on their walls or send them out on cards. And I shoot a session differently depending on what they're going to do with them. If they say, I want a keepsake album for my coffee table or albums that I can pass down to my kids, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to, take a lot of little detail shots. I'm going to create a beautiful piece of artwork that tells a story, which is what an album does. If they say, I want a 20 by 30 over my living room mantle, and I just wish that all my kids were looking at the camera for once, I'm going to focus my session on those formal posed images. And I'm not going to go I would do that creative stuff at the end, but I'm not going to be all artsy and creative because that is not what they told me they want. They want a picture of their whole family smiling at the camera to hang over their mantle, and I get that because that's always I love the creative shots, but I want that of my family too when it's a formal portrait. And so I really want to know another thing, like newborn sessions. What are you doing with these images? Are you going to order birth announcements? Is it seasonal? So let's say they're sending out the pictures around Halloween. Well, then a little pumpkin hat would be super cute because that could go on the cover of the birth announcement. But if they want a shot that's going to go over the crib in the nursery, and the nursery is pale pink, maybe the pumpkin hat isn't the best choice for that image. And so knowing what they're going to do with the images can inform your entire session, how you shoot the session, and it can help them be thrilled with the products that they get in the end. Because you never want to get to the sales appointment and all of a sudden they're like, well, these are really pretty and artsy, but I wish we had more of everybody smiling at the camera because I really wanted to buy a 20 by 30 piece of wall art to put over my fireplace. And here's a sale you could have had, but you just didn't know what they wanted to buy. So talking about that on the beginning is important. And it's really, I think, important for clients to define that for themselves. Defining that can help them pick wardrobe. What room is this going to go in? Is it formal? Is it casual? Do you want lifestyle? Do you want everybody you want mom in an evening gown? Because we shoot the whole gamut here, from newborn all the way to engagement and boudoir. And we shoot, the clients are the ones choosing their wardrobe. We're not styling them. We help them choose wardrobe and we give them advice on wardrobe. But ultimately, we're a retail style studio. So we're taking portraits that are what this family wants. It's reflecting their style, not my style. You know what I mean? So that's really important. And then I guess that kind of leads into the next question. So that was question 1. Leading into the next question would be, I think, what do you love most about your family at this time? You want to get kind of start to get an emotional connection with them and try to get a feel for what they want to capture. Like somebody might answer to that answer, be like, oh my gosh, my kids are just so goofy right now. My 2-year-old is so funny. They have so much personality. My 6-year-old's a little shy. And when they start to talk about all the characteristics of their family that make them unique and beautiful and the way that they love them, if you can capture those elements in a portrait for them, they are going to fall in love with it. This is why we end up with big galleries in my business too, because Mariah and I both, a lot of times we'll talk to each other and we're like, gosh, I feel like the photographer's favorites are always different from the family favorites, because we tend to like things that we're like, that's a really good photograph. Like, it's technically perfect. The composition's amazing. Look what I pulled off in that shot. That's what the photographers love. A lot of times the families love something that's really unexpected. Like, it's a certain look. It might not be the perfect smile that you thought was perfect, or the perfect pensive look that you thought was perfect, but something about what you caught in some of those images that you might have even thrown away, the parents, it resonates with the parents because it is their child's true personality shining through. It's the way that they want to remember them forever. So talking to them a little bit about what's important to capture from an emotional standpoint, I think is also important. Okay, so we talked about what do you love most about your family right now? And then I think lastly, I would say, like, are there any favorite, getting to know, especially when there's kids involved, excuse me, getting to know some details about what they like, what makes them laugh, so that you can go in and get to know them before you even start taking pictures, so that there's a level of comfort there. Like, if mom says dad has never lasted more than 10 minutes in a photo session, I'm going to approach the session in one way. If, they say, oh, we really, like, the kids are a little shy, but they love books. Well, I'm going to bring books for the kids to read. And, you want to do stuff that helps them open up and feel comfortable in front of the camera. So, like, I think the most important things to figure out is, what are they going to do with the images? And second, how can I connect with them? Because that connection, it doesn't matter. You can set up the most amazing set in the world. You can spend $1,000 buying props for one single session. And if you don't connect with the subject, then the entire session falls flat. So learning kind of about who they are as people, because ultimately that is what makes this job fulfilling, and that is what makes beautiful portraiture. It's that connection with them outside of the shell of, their wardrobe and their even, having those perfect smiles or whatever. I think it's getting to like a deeper level of connection with them and being able to capture that. So that kind of starts things off on the right foot when you ask those types of questions. Awesome question. Okay, was there a part 2 to that? Hold on. Oh, families more than 6, yeah. So when you have bigger families, well, one thing we always say, I feel like bigger families tend to want to be matchy-matchy because they don't know how the heck to coordinate so many people. So we always advise not to be matchy-matchy. That's one thing, to kind of to choose similar color palettes, but to sort of mix up, so everybody's not in white polo shirts, and try to keep things active and know your posing ahead of time. Like, scour the internet for pose ideas and have a lot of poses to pull from, because bigger families it becomes more and more difficult to pose them naturally and casually and get everybody in the frame. So do your study, do your homework before the session. So at the session, everything's really second nature, and you can focus on, keeping things moving and active and fun. You don't want to have them sitting in one spot for 15 minutes while you're tweaking every little thing, because it's a lot of people, and the more likely that somebody is going to get impatient. So kind of keeping things moving fast and being prepared going into it. And telling them, bring some stuff. You're probably going to want to break them up into smaller groups too, like start with the big group, then break them into smaller groups. And so having some stuff along that will keep people busy and entertained, like, they love playing football, bring a football and a wagon and some books to read and some snacks for the kids. And so that you can take little breaks and break people into smaller groups after you get that full family stuff, to get that more fun and candid emotional stuff. All right. Awesome questions this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me all of 2014 for FAQ Friday. I'm so excited to see you in the new year. Of course, you can still keep up with us on our Facebook and our blog. There's HeidiHope.com and HeidiHope.com/learning. And if you're not a part of our newsletter, you should really sign up for that. You can go to HeidiHope.com/learning and click on the little newsletter sign up boxes and just enter your email, and I will still be in touch with you before the next FAQ Friday via our newsletter. And I guess that's it for today. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody, Happy Hanukkah. I hope you have a great new year, and we'll see you in 2015. Bye, everybody.